I read something that frankly disturbed me. Someone claimed, and I quote, "Tap, tap, tap had me in an actual chokehold. An actual chokehold. From tapping. Is this book teaching dangerous new martial arts?"
That seems unlikely. An energetic interpretation of a reader's reaction, perhaps. I believe the tapping referred to a specific gesture within the book we're discussing today. Broken Souls and Bones by L.J. Andrews.
Ah, yes. Broken Souls and Bones. Sounds like my last physical exam. So, what's the deal, Vikings? Magic. Someone getting tapped into submission.
The general understanding seems to be a Viking-inspired fantasy setting. A young woman named Lyra, possessing rare magic involving bone blood. And soul crafter Melder, they call her, is discovered and captured.
A melder, like she fuses things together? Is she welding souls? Is that ethical? Does she need a permit for that?
She's taken by a silent royal sentry, Roark Ashwood, to a fortress called Stonegate. There, she serves a magic-obsessed king while navigating a dynamic with this Roark fellow, enemies to lovers, forced proximity, that sort of thing.
Forced proximity. My favorite. Nothing says romance like being legally obligated to share breathing space with someone who might want you dead, or maybe just wants to tap you into a coma. But people seemed divided, like really divided, especially about getting into it.
Indeed. The pacing appears to be a significant point of contention. One reader comment stated, "A slow start with an explosive end. I hate to say that this one dragged for me a bit." Another simply asked, "I enjoyed this for the most part, but was also bored."
Bored. How can you be bored with Viking magic and potential soul welding? Were they expecting explosions on page 1? Some people just have no patience for quality brooding. Although, another reader did warn, didn't they? Something about needing commitment.
Yes. A word of warning. The first 40% is heavy on world building and establishing the magic system. Please stick with it. The payoff will blow your mind.
40%. That's practically half the book dedicated to explaining. What? How the plumbing works in Stonegate. I bet the magic system was part of the problem. People seemed baffled. One poor soul called it convoluted and poorly executed, pure info dumping that only served to confuse.
Yet, others found it quite compelling. The magic system of this world was truly like nothing I had ever read before. A direct contradiction. Bone, blood, soulcraft. It sounds visceral.
Visceral, or maybe just messy. Bonecraft? Is that like building little skeletons out of popsicle sticks? Or is it more Wolverine claws, as one reviewer apparently suggested? Because that's a whole different level of arts and crafts. Probably needs a wet nap afterwards.
The comparison to Wolverine was noted in relation to a specific scene. Yes, it seems the magic had consequences. Reviewers frequently use terms like brutal, dark, gritty.
Oh, dark and gritty. My favorite flavors, along with morally gray. Everyone loves a morally gray man, especially this Roark fellow. Silent type, uses sign language hand speak, they called it. Very mysterious, very potentially stabby.
Readers seemed quite taken with him. Described as compelling, complex, protective also delicious, and the sign language aspect was widely praised. Roark doesn't speak in the traditional way, but Lyra is always so in tune to his communication tactics and makes him feel so comfortable and understood.
See? Actions speak louder than words, especially when those actions involve, according to one enthusiastic reader, dismembering an enemy and putting his head on a pike. Now that's communication. Forget flowers, get me a man who expresses his affection through strategic decapitation. Though, some did find the romance lacking. Lukewarm, one said. Awkward sex scenes. Can't win 'em all, I suppose.
There were certainly conflicting reports on the romance development. Some called it insta-love disguised as enemies to lovers, while others found it a deliciously slow push and pull burn that had me feral. Feral.
Like a raccoon fighting over a discarded sandwich. That's the energy we want. And that tapping. 3 taps. His gesture for claiming something as his. It meant mine. People were losing their minds over that, kicking their feet, giggling, needing smelling salts. Probably. It's just tapping, folks. Get a grip, or get tapped, I guess.
The emotional reactions were quite strong across the board, particularly towards the end. Phrases like jaw-dropping, mind was blown, jaw unhinged, heart coming to standstill, reeling, gasping out loud. Screaming, "Oh my God," and shock were frequently associated with the final chapters.
Jaw unhinged. Are we sure this book isn't a dental hazard? People's jaws are just detaching. One reviewer even compared the shock to watching Twilight New Moon before reading the book. The sheer betrayal, the cinematic audacity. That's the level of trauma we're dealing with here.
It does suggest the plot twists were effective for many, despite some finding them predictable, or feeling they came out of nowhere. The ending cliffhanger seems universally agreed upon as intense. "I am unwell and need book 2 immediately," was a common sentiment.
Unwell, feral, jaws on the floor. This book sounds like a public health crisis. Which brings us to the warnings. People mentioned, well, let's just say it sounds like things get messy.
Yes, reviewers did include trigger warnings. Mentions of descriptive injury, blood and gore, mutilation. Specifically mutilation of a child. Noted as being in the past, threatened sexual assault, and torture were noted. The world is described as brutal.
Brutal indeed. Mutilation of a child in the past. Important distinction. Can't have present tense child mutilation, that's just tacky. But gore, torture. Sounds like a typical Tuesday in Viking land, doesn't it? Fits the aesthetic, though I imagine some listeners might want to brace themselves. This isn't exactly a cozy mystery, unless the mystery is where did that limb go?
A fair assessment based on the reader feedback. The darkness seems integral to the setting. Amidst this chaos, there were other characters people enjoyed. The found family aspect was praised.
Ah, found family. Feed it to me with a spoon. That's what one reader demanded. A spoon. Forget bowls. We're mainlining found family now. Prince Thane got a lot of love, funny, loyal. Emi, the friend. Kel, the foster brother. Good wholesome bonding between bouts of soul crafting and potential dismemberment. Balanced.
It seems the side characters provided levity. Thane, in particular, was highlighted for his bond with Roark.
Okay, listeners, quick question for you. Inspired by all this drama. Lyra, right? Forced to use her spooky magic for this power, hungry king. Knowing it might be killing her slowly. Reviewers debated this. Is it desperate survival? Or did she basically make a deal with the devil wearing a crown? What do you think? Let us know. I think survival always wins. Unless the devil offers really good benefits.
A formal complaint seems inadequate in that situation, but the dilemma is noted: loyalty versus morality. The nature of power. These themes were present in the discussions.
Right. Deep thoughts between the feral screams and unhinged jaws. So, the final verdict. Is this book a masterpiece of Viking angst? Or a confusing slog with a killer ending? The people are divided.
The evidence suggests extreme polarization, a unique, albeit potentially confusing, magic system. A compelling, silent male lead who communicates through taps and other means. A slow burn romance that either sizzles or fizzles depending on the reader. Pacing issues in the first half, followed by an ending that apparently requires jaw reattachment surgery for many.
Jaw reattachment surgery, excellent. So, for broken souls and bones, I'm giving it, let's see, 3 out of 5 actual chokeholds induced by tapping, plus a bonus point for making someone compare it to the Twilight New Moon movie ending trauma. Minus half a point for the 40% of alleged boredom some poor souls endured. Final score, 3.5 feral raccoons out of 5.
An unconventional rating system. But it captures the spirit of the reactions. Ultimately, it seems broken souls and bones provoke strong feelings. Whether those feelings are obsession or frustration appears highly subjective.
Exactly. You might love it, you might hate it, you might end up unwell and demanding book 2 like your life depends on it. Honestly, you probably need to read it yourself just to figure out which side of the Viking asylum you belong on.
Join us next time on Heartbook Radio.
Yeah, next time my host tries to convince me that a sentient toaster oven finding love in a post-apocalyptic wasteland is high literature, based entirely on reviews written on greasy napkins. You won't want to miss it. Signing off.
Signing off.